Welcome to Retro Spectrum, the podcast where we pick a band, listen to their entire discography, and then talk it out.
This week we're talking about Bikini Kill, a sick riot girl band from the 90s that is recently started touring again. So that's awesome.
Yeah, timely for a lot of maybe not so great reasons, but it's still cool that they're out there, and it would be a good time to get caught up on their history and start getting into what they're currently doing as well.
Pay close attention to the lyrical content. Do not look away.
Their music is as relevant today, unfortunately, as it was when it was originally created. So let's jump right in. This is Bikini Kill. Well, have you done anything cool recently? Been to any shows? Seen any movies? Read any books?
Well, I went to that show the other night, Cars show, that I wanted you to come to. It would have been so much more fun for me if you would have been there.
And so much less fun for me.
Well, you probably would have had fun. The thing is this venue doesn't really do much promoting, and apparently neither do the fucking bands because no one was there. All the shows I've been to recently at this venue, the only people in the audience were the other bands or like two of the other band's friends.
Do you think there's room now for like band promoters or like show promoters? Like it seems like every band that came up in like 70s or 80s had like people that were like not in the band, but like really invested in getting people to go see the band and like publicity and all that sort of stuff. Like,
yeah, like a manager or promoter. Yeah,
like a publicist or promoter, or even for clubs or whatever. Like it seems like they need like a carnival barker person.
I think what they call that these days is like their social media person or whatever. Like the person who runs their social media kind of takes over that promoter job because promoting is mostly on the internet now. But I feel like people just don't do it. It's like you have to actually harp on it. You have to make a flyer with actual info on it. And that's the thing is I shared the flyer to that show hoping some people would come. The flyer didn't have any info on it. It only had the band's names on it. Nothing else, not the venue, not the fucking time, nothing. And so I don't know. I feel like venues these days just don't give a shit about that, which seems weird because you'd think they'd want people to come.
Yeah, it seems like the most important thing to
running there's venue. No way they made any money that night.
Yeah,
because every single person there was on the guest list.
Yeah. And then you had 2 drinks, which I'm sure didn't like.
Yeah, I spent $12.
Yeah. Really doing your part.
Yeah.
Keeping live local music afloat.
Right. But yeah, there was a like kind of punky poppy punk band. I think I sent you a little clip of it.
I can't listen to live audio phone clip recordings. It just sounds like static.
The videos I took were actually pretty good. Cars band was the best band there. The headlining band was these 2 guys that played the show last time too, but it was like the same 2 guys, but a different project. And they were like really showing off physically, like flailing
like their
around.
Muscles?
No, they're 2 little scrawny nerdy dudes, but they were like flailing all around. And they both like jumped off the stage and they both hit the fucking ground. And then one guy did it twice. I'm like, why are you guys like acting like this is an actual legit show? There's like literally like 15 people here.
That's how you get the practice in though. So when there's like, 100 people there or whatever, you're ready to go. You've already been there.
I guess they're my age, I'm pretty sure. And they hit the fucking ground. Like you're going to need to save your body
they're not your age if they got back up and did it more than once.
Well, afterwards I was like, how are the knees? Because they hit the ground fucking hard. And then one guy face planted on top of his guitar. It was not good. Have you gone into any shows or anything? Oh, speaking of, wait, hold on. Let me finish.
The old question with your own story immediately followed it. Classic.
So, well, the final thing that I have been doing is watching a TV show that this is the most exciting thing of all the things that I just said. It's a TV show called The Fosters, and it's about a lesbian couple that like adopts a bunch of kids, and it's the sweetest show. Like, if that show had existed when I was a kid, man, it would have really helped me out, because it's just so sweet and wholesome. Like, wholesome, but not like fake wholesome, you know what I mean? Like legit wholesome. By fake wholesome, I mean like this fucking TV show that I'm about to work on is like a Jesus-y joint, and it's like portraying people in a way that like nobody acts that way, you know?
Yeah.
This show is wholesome in the way that it's like there's drama, that people fuck each other over, there's like all this stuff, but in the end of the day, you know, they always come back to their family and they love each other and they're there for each other. And it's like a more realistic version of like Full House or something. It's so sweet though. Like, I cry like almost every episode.
What's it on?
It's on Hulu. And it's like, I don't know, every episode I'm like, man, I wish I had a family like that, you know? They're just so loving and kind to each other and really care about each other. It's so sweet. Can't get enough of it. So yeah, it's in like it's an interracial couple too. So it's a Black woman and a white woman, and the white woman is actually a cop. So there's like a bunch of levels to that. And it's really interesting. It's a good ass show. It's like a world changing type of show. We need more shows like that. So I asked you what you've been up to, and you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was about to say something. What was it going to be? Oh, other big. I got the MXPX box set in finally.
Oh yes, that is exciting.
The whole full discography, all 10 albums. Now I have to find a time where I'm completely by myself for enough time to listen to 10 albums, because I don't want to inflict that much of that music on anyone else.
So you haven't listened to any of it?
No, I've done like 3 or 4 already, but it's like it's a me experience. You know what I mean? I don't want to make my girlfriend listen to it or anybody else really. And I also don't want to be like
person that could.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be listening to it with somebody else and be like, sorry, you know, like I get it, but it like,
well, that's how I feel like when we try to watch Star Trek with other people.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, no, like there's a part of my brain that knows this sucks, but there's another part of my brain that's like, I love this very much.
Yes, totally. I don't think it sucks.
I don't either, but but I also understand that other people would feel that way.
Well, if anyone feels that way about Star Trek, they're just dumb.
I think there's a case to be made. I wouldn't make it, but I think there's a legitimate case to be made.
For Enterprise, yes. Star Trek is like... Okay,
hang on. We can't go down. We don't have enough time to go down a Star Trek tangent. There really is going to just be a spinoff of the segments of this that are Star Trek related. Well, that brings us to this week's band, Bikini Kill. You wanna get into it?
Yeah, I like how you said it. Bikini Kill.
Yeah, you like that? Bikini Kill.
There's so many different ways you could say it. What do you think about that band name?
A lot of syllables in a small space there. What do I think about that band name? I think it's perfect.
Do we know the meaning behind it?
Well, I think it's perfect in the sense that it's like it really gets the message across. I think it's visually, it's got a lot of hard consonants in it.
Are we killing
has like
the
violent imagery?
Or
I think it's like a bikini with the power and ability to kill.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like, it's like what's that movie? Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill Kill.
Yeah.
Like it puts me in mind of those
just 2
like,
kills.
Not the one I saw. It puts me in mind of like the those sort of grindhouse movies that are like a little sleazy, a little like edgy, a little dangerous or whatever, you know, like it just has like a dangerous baby. Yeah, that's it. But it's like, I think that's kind of what the whole band is about, is like taking that sort of imagery and weaponizing it and using it, you know, as empowerment.
Yeah, nailed it. Okay, the episode's done.
How you feel about that? No, I got a lot of thoughts. I have to explain to you how important this band was to women everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure it really resonated with you.
It really did.
So speaking of band names, so the All American Rejects, there's no mention of All American Rejects taking their band name from this.
Well, I think we should explain that. Reject All American, right? I think is the name of the Bikini Kill song. And there's one point in that song where they are literally just saying All American
Rejects.
But it's like they're saying reject all Americans or reject all American, and they just loop it so it sounds like All American Rejects. And I was listening to it and I was like, is this where that little pop punk band from Stillwater got their name? Like, did they steal it from Bikini Kill? Like, did you look into it?
Yes, I fucking did. And the lead singer was like, I don't know, we just...
Oh my God, he's here with us now.
We just chose some random shit that sounded cool. That's literally his explanation. And then there's something on the internet that said they got it from Green Day song. And I'm like, all of the things that it was possible that they got it from, none of them said what is literally the exact words that are in the fucking Bikini Kill song.
And if there's any better like exemplar of why this band continues to need to exist, it would be them getting 100% ripped off by Green Day and All American Rejects and then not credited in any capacity.
Exactly. You can't find a connection anywhere on the internet at all. There's not even one fucking Riot Girl online going, hey, I think maybe there's a connection here. I couldn't find anything like that. Even when I type in Bikini Kill and All American Rejects, the band, like I type in both names in the fucking search, nothing, no connections online anywhere.
Well, I really think that lends some credibility to they just didn't know, you know what I mean? They're just ignorant of it. I don't know. I guess it could be.
I can definitely see these guys not knowing Bikini Kill. If that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This was not on their radar at all. Okay, well, do you want to run down a little history of it? Do you have a personal history with the band?
Well, I mean, when I was a teen or whatever, what year did their first album come out?
1991, I think, was their first. The demos
now that was
came out.
Pretty young for me. So, if I had been a little older when that came out, I probably would have been like all fucking Riot Girl all the way type of vibe. So I didn't really get into them until Le Tigre because those albums were coming out when I was a teenager. I was really into that, obviously. But then as an adult, I found out about Bikini Kill and went back to it,
Yeah.
Because, back when albums were coming out when I was a teenager, the internet wasn't really a thing. So it wasn't like I would be like, who is Le Tigre? And like do this research to find out like about Bikini Kill. So I don't know how I ended up finally hearing about them. I'm sure through, their popular songs or a friend,
Well, and I think Le Tigre got pretty popular in that, like, there was a lot of stuff around 2004 when their last album came out that was, I think they were really big into the like Rock Against Bush stuff and a lot of that political. And I could see you being involved in that scene, coming across it there, or even the years leading up to that.
Totally. So yeah, I mean. And I've seen Bikini Kill at least once. I saw them at Riot Fest and they were headlining, which was fucking sick.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah, it was sick. Yeah, she was saying her piece, which is all our piece. And everyone needs to keep saying it until somebody fucking does something about it.
That's been the real, like, them getting back together or whatever. They were like, yeah, we thought that like maybe we'd said everything that needed to be said,
but apparently fucking not.
No, turns out they still need us out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So they were active from 1990 to 1997, a 4-piece punk rock band. And like when I say punk rock, like this is punk rock, like it's like gross and abrasive and loud and vulgar and in your face. And like at times I was listening to it and it was like my headphones weren't turned up all the way, but it just felt like this is too loud. Like it just feels loud even without having a loud volume. It's like everything is cranked to the maximum. They're not really like a speed punk band necessarily, but like just that like garagey kind of Go-Go's influence, or like 60s say almost surf, but like cranked to the maximum.
Well, and her accent, her vocal style is kind of surf.
Yes, well, some of it. I mean, it's all over the place
Valley
too.
Girl screaming.
A little bit of everything. And they are one of the progenitors of the Riot Grrrl movement, which I had always known like what it was vaguely, you know, like an idea of what those words mean and the kind of like what the movement was. But it was really listening to this that was like my first
You're like, oh,
real deep dive into like the specifics of it, you know, of who the bands were and what they sounded like and what their message was and all that stuff. And it just, I don't know. I love it. I wish that it was the first time in a long time that I've listened to a band that I'd never heard before that got me like amped
yeah.
for it. It's not good music, but it just has, I don't know. It has the like emotion and the energy and in your faceness that is just, I don't know what I love about it.
I mean, riot is the perfect fucking word for it. It's a riot as a music.
Yeah.
As a sound.
As a music, it is a riot.
It is the soundtrack of Riot.
And it's all like so it's a 4-piece band, 3 girls and the guitar player whose name was Billy Karen, who I was looking up and I was trying to figure because I always thought Riot Grrrl, I thought it was an all girl band. I thought that
they
was like
wanted
their
it to be
or whatever. Yeah, but they they couldn't find somebody that could play guitar as well as him. But it's really I think the catalyst and I think the part that really people think of and the part that lives on is really Kathleen Hanna, the lead vocalist.
Yes.
I mean, she's the one, you know what I mean? Like out of all the other parts of the band that it's like, it is loud, it is abrasive, but she's the one that's like, whoa, this is intense. This is really what you're listening for. This is why this band is still relevant and still something worth checking out. Is due to her because she sings and screams and growls and is like
she's a bad
weirdly
bitch.
Sarcastic and
so weirdly sarcastic, huh? I don't think it's weird
in a way that it fits into the songs. Like she builds sarcasm into the lyrics rather than just like straight up singing the song or singing the words or whatever. Like she will use her vocal intonation to be snotty
and I think that's a very
sarcastic
punk rock
or like
thing.
Yeah, definitely. I got a lot of Dead Kennedys vibes because he kind of does the same sort of sarcastic vocal style.
Screeching Weasel does that in The Descendants. I love it.
But man, she's really, that range it's all over the place. It's up and down and high and low and loud and soft. I was just really, 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 really impressed. It starts off really rough. Those first the first 2 albums. Yeah. I mean, like, I think it was just them recording live in like a living room on a 4-track. And it sounds like it. The people who can like not really play their instruments that well, recording without multiple takes all at the same time. I mean,
that's literally exactly what it was.
Yeah. And you
like
can
my
tell.
Demos.
I really liked as it progressed, it got a little bit more refined. Like I never feel like they lost the energy.
Yeah.
I just feel like it became more clear, you know, like it was a little more understandable. Yeah. Do you have a favorite album or favorite track or anything that Bikini Kill did?
I mean, obviously, Rebel Girl is hella catchy.
Yeah, which version though?
I don't even remember the different fucking versions.
Well, there's the one on the demo that's like, you know, that demo version. Then there's one on their first album that's a little bit rougher. And then they did one as a single, like 7-inch, but they re-recorded it with Joan Jett. And it's the one that's on the singles album. It's the best sounding one, in my opinion. It really takes it slows it down a little bit and really kind of cleans up the edges. And I think it does. I think it sounds the best.
Honestly, I don't know which song's my favorite. They get stuck in my head a lot. They're all very catchy.
Yeah.
Which, you know, punk. Yeah. Well, usually they're like simple, repetitive.
You know all the words after listening to it twice.
What's your favorite?
The favorite album is probably they compiled all the 7-inch singles and it's just called The Singles, and they didn't release it until after the band had already broken up, and they put it all together in one album. I think it's the best. Like if I was going to show somebody this band and be like, you should listen to them, I would show them The Singles. I think it's the best like overall body of work. No, the white one with the phone on
The Singles. Got it. It's a little record player.
Yeah, the little record player. I don't know why
I should have worn my Bikini Kill shirt to record this. I actually have 2 Bikini Kill shirts.
You should have worn both of them. Layers. But yeah, I think The Singles is the best like picture of what the band is. I think there's some like it would almost kind of work backwards. I'd probably do The Singles and then their third album or their last album and then the one before that, and then kind of work your way backwards to the demos. That way, by the time you get to the demos, you know, like kind of where it's going or whatever. Because I think if you just show somebody that demo album first, it's a little, unless you really like punk rock, it's going to be a little bit too abrasive. Like it's going to be a little bit much.
See, my mind
after
would
like
be
three
like,
songs.
ooh, I can't wait to see where this goes, you know?
Yeah. But if it was somebody who was kind of on the fence, if somebody was kind of on the fence, I could just see them saying like, this sounds like crap or this sucks or whatever. You know what I mean? And then just kind of moving on. And if you do that, you really are doing a disservice to yourself and to the band, I think, by not like continuing to give them opportunity. Because I think I would have been guilty of doing the same thing. I think I could have listened to that first demo album and just been like, yeah, I get it. Shitty garage rock, loud vocals, you know, whatever. But like continuing listening to the rest of the albums, it like I think they did a really good job of like fine tuning and evolving and really crafting their sound without like changing what it is. You know, like it's still all of those things. It sounds like they learned how to produce albums by the end of their run. Does Riot Grrrl, like, did it mean anything to you growing up?
As like a 20-something-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I listen to a lot of bands that are kind of similar. Like Hole, they kind of have a similar vibe in some ways, and I really liked Hole, like just the '90s angry femme vibe.
Well, that's one of the things that I really loved about listening to all this music was like, I think it should be required listening for everyone from like 14 to 17. I think everybody should listen to it. I think it does a great job of like for young girls of like, it's okay to be pissed off about this stuff. Like it's okay to be mad about this stuff. Well, because I think there's so much like ingrained, like be polite, be nice, smile, nod, get through it and on to your next thing or whatever, where they were like, no, you say something, stand up for yourself, you know, advocate for your own self and your own body and all that stuff. And I think that's a message that like is extremely important for young people to hear.
It's funny that you say that because just earlier today, I was having a meeting with one of these TV people and I was bringing up how like the film and TV and like theater environment is like prime, you know, for abuse in a bunch of different ways, especially for women. And they basically told me what you just said is like they just kind of shut me down and acted like I was making a big deal out of nothing or something, or just being negative or whatever. And they were like, kind of, I should be grateful for a gig kind of vibe. And I'm like, nah, dog. That is not how I roll.
If there's one thing about this band, it's like they are not going to be shut down. You know,
same.
like they're gonna do what they do on their terms. But I think like I don't know. I think there's such value in that message and in that like the camaraderie of the like this is enough and this is not okay. And hearing somebody else say it, I just think that it's like you're not alone. You know, I don't know. I really, really, really think this is a really important band, and I'm glad that they're back together. And I just think that their ethos is very, very valuable and something that got kind of co-opted and commercialized and then like distilled and watered down into like nothingness, you know, like rather than being like a radical statement. I think that like girl power sort of thing became like a got milk campaign, like on the same level of like that doesn't really mean anything anymore at this level. But I think that what they did was really dangerous and like really rubbed people the wrong way, like really got in people's faces and really made people uncomfortable. And I think that's good. Like, I think people need to be uncomfortable about these things. I think they sang about and talked about stuff that gets swept under the rug, and they like screamed it in people's faces and like refused to just, like you said, like be quiet or be shushed or whatever.
It's funny that you're talking about like watered down girl power. That made me think of the Spice Girls. Although
that's what I was gonna say, Spice Girls, but I was like, I don't know if I want to get like specific, but really that's where my brain went, was like Spice Girls.
But here's the thing. I do agree that it's like sort of watered down and commercialized when it comes to the Spice Girls because of the nature of like a girl group type of thing like that. It's like a girl pop group. It's like we're still objectifying you and whatever, but a feminist can be a feminist any goddamn way she pleases, or he, whatever, whoever, any way they please. And, you know, if the Spice Girls want to do it in a poppy, you know, sugary way with their little mini dresses and shit, that's chill too. I love the Spice Girls. And I think it's a little bit capitalism, kind of a little too much of that there. It just kind of reminds me of have you seen the movie Josie and the Pussycats from like the early
Yeah.
2000s? I don't know if you
Yeah.
recall, but that's what they were doing with Josie and the Pussycats, just like turning them into just like a commercial capitalist machine. And like Parker Posey was like part of this like scheme to make it like they were brainwashing people through the music to like buy shit basically. So, and that's like a kind of a funny take on a similar situation of like the Spice Girls type of vibe. But I think what the Spice Girls are trying to do is good overall. Even if it is watered down girl power, at least it's still something. And maybe the Spice Girls would lead somebody to listen to a band like Bikini Kill. You never know.
And I think that like manifesting whatever you want in whatever way you want is fine. The distinction for me is that I'm gonna just use the Spice Girls as like a catch-all for that sort of stuff, is really concerned with being appealing to everybody, like really being poppy and appealing, and like anybody can listen to it and be like, oh, this is catchy and I like this and it's got a nice beat and you can play it and over like the mall loudspeakers or whatever. And Bikini Kill was not that. They were not concerned with being on the radio or being on soundtracks or being palatable or being even at times even being listenable. I mean, there are parts of those where it's like there are two people talking over the top of each other in the right and left headphone, and like I don't know what's going on, and it's not like you're not going to hear that shit on the radio.
I literally wrote that some of their songs were nearly unlistenable, and then I also wrote that They Might Be Giants needs to take note, because if you're gonna have your music be nearly unlistenable, you should at least make it succinct, to the point. Keep it brief. Their songs are quick. One. Their albums are 30 minutes long. Like,
so those bands overlap time-wise with each other, right? Like,
well, They Might Be Giants overlaps time-wise with literally everyone.
Well, but let's talk like the peak of They Might Be Giants, like Flood and all that stuff comes out around the same year that Bikini Kill starts releasing stuff, right? They Might Be Giants actively wrote songs that mean literally nothing.
Exactly.
Like they're
privileged white dudes.
5,000 songs. And their songs don't mean anything, and they're catchy or whatever, or annoying or whatever, however you feel about them. But they wrote so many of them that are like actively not concerned with either having much substance or making much sense. And then you have Bikini Kill, who's like, we have 55 songs that clock in under 2 hours, and every single one of them is going to shine a light on like social injustice and sexism and racism and all, like every song meant so much. I just thought it was a funny juxtaposition of like, this band really wrote songs that really matter and are really important and really had something to say, at the same time that this other band was just out
dicking
here like,
around,
I don't know,
pissing people off.
We got a couple of clarinets laying over here. Let's put them on.
Exactly. And how does that make you feel any different about They Might Be Giants?
No, I think they are what they are. And I think there's room for both.
Well, when you're of the oppressed, on the side of the oppressed, you've got to make it count.
Which one do I think has more cultural value in like the long run?
Obviously Bikini Kill. Yeah.
Like that's not the question. I mean, which one do I think is the better band? I would also probably say Bikini Kill.
Although They Might Be Giants is obviously more musically skilled.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, better musicians for sure. But that's only part of
Bikini Kill's like change the fucking world shit.
So speaking of other bands that we've done, the only note that I wrote was antithesis of the whiny boy shit of Saves the Day. It's like they're like, yeah, the girl doesn't like me, I'm sad. And Bikini Kill's like, don't fucking look at me, don't touch me. I am in charge of myself and you and our interactions, and I don't care what you think about me. And I'm gonna do, like, it was just a complete total opposite content wise of like, not even concerned with why don't people like me, but like, I don't give a shit if they like me or not. I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
Which is like, again, a much more important and vital message, I think, to put out into the world.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So far, much more impactful, I think, than either band. I thought this band made me think a lot more than either of those other two did. And I did
they're closer to on par with the Clash.
Yeah, agreed. Like of cultural importance and impact. Yes.
Like the Clash wrote about, heavy shit too. Yeah. It wasn't as charged as this and angry sounding.
Yeah.
It wasn't as obviously angry. I mean, the lyrics were sarcastic and angry, but in a more chill way. Bikini Kill is like in your face, exactly what it is.
And I don't think the clash was as personal as Bikini Kill was.
No.
Like, I think there was still a layer
Well,
of
when
like
it's happening to
storytelling in their
you,
songs.
it's different.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they were telling stories and, you know, singing songs from their perspective of things that actually did happen to them, which leads into my other thought. I don't just think that this should be required listening for young girls. I think it should be required listening for young men also, because
more
it
so,
like
even
really makes you think about what is just a normal quote unquote, what you could think of as an interaction with a woman that doesn't even register on your, like, I'm not even going to remember this, what that interaction could come across to a woman.
Yeah.
Like from their perspective, because you just don't, even still, even 30 years later, you don't see or hear that perspective from the woman's side, you know, like it still is not told in the same way that I feel like Bikini Kill did it. There was an argument about like microaggressions and stuff, like, are those even a thing, or what are microaggressions and all that. And this
What do
was
you mean,
3 or
are
4
those
years
even
ago.
a
And
thing?
it was like,
Who the fuck?
there are people that it stay off the internet.
Yeah, it's clearly never happened to you if you don't think it's a thing. It might not be a thing for you.
Exactly. It hasn't happened to you. And it's like, oh, this is just something that the millennials or the Gen Z made up or whatever, because they're little sensitive snowflakes. And it's like, no, you go back and listen to this, and the same shit was happening to them, and it was happening, you know, generations before. And it's like that body of work, that history has to mean, like, it should mean something, that it's been said over and over and over again by so many different types and so many different groups of people. And
we've been screaming it forever.
I think that they do a very succinct and very good job of literally screaming it at you. One of the benefits of punk rock is it's like, there's no metaphor. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, I wonder what they're thinking about. It's like, I am screaming exactly what I mean in your stupid face.
Yes.
Because that is the only way that you're going to be able to understand anything.
Yes.
Because if I try to be nice or I try to sugarcoat it, you're either going to ignore it or you're going to like reword it in a way.
Honestly, I should be in a punk band, because that's how I feel like every day of my fucking life. Is I just want to scream what I want and need in people's fucking faces, because nobody listens. It's so frustrating. It relates to movies and shit too. Like, the male producers and shit will question your every move, and it's like, they don't even know shit about your job. This is literally my job, and you don't know anything about it, and you're fucking acting like, treating me like I don't know shit. It's like, why'd you even hire me if you think I don't know shit?
And I think that I don't know. I just feel like this band gives voice to that, and gives like I said, you're not alone and you're not crazy. And this does happen. And this is a problem. And we see it. And we're going to say all the stuff that you want to say.
Well, and it's funny because I think a lot of chicks don't even realize that microaggressions are a thing, because they're so used to pretending that it's not happening to them as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Like, you have to constantly, all day, every fucking day, just try and play it cool for all these little things. For just as an example, when I walk through Lowe's, regardless of how I'm dressed, I have a fucking shaved head. Half the time I'm wearing coveralls, like baggy coveralls or something. Sometimes I'll wear, like, you know, this muscle shirt, so got a little side boob or whatever, shorts, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Every time I go in there, no matter what, almost every dude in the whole place is like staring me up and down when I walk by. And I don't know if dudes think that I can't see them. It's really fucking weird, because it's like, okay, you have eyes and you're looking at me. I also have eyes. And we're passing each other, looking at each other, but I'm looking at you, just watching you look me up and down creepily. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not looking at them creepy. And if I could just barely look at them and then kind of dart my eyes away, because I don't want to fucking deal with it. And I don't want to, like, in case you look me up and down creepy and then our eyes meet again, for you to be doing something weird. You know what I mean? It could literally be any small thing like that. Speaking of micro, it's like, you think that shit, like, dudes, like you said, that aren't even aware they're fucking doing it, because men are just idiots, I guess. Like, you don't know that you're, like, okay, it is uncomfortable for the person getting looked at. And that's just one small thing that happens literally with almost every single man that walks past you every day, all day long. Just thinking of how exhausting. Can you imagine just feeling looked at all the time? Do you ever feel
I don't
anything like
want
that?
my experience to be real. This doesn't, you know what I mean? This isn't about me.
Yeah, but do you ever feel?
No, it's not something that I have to deal with. No.
It's just that's the smallest thing I can think of. That's like
Yeah.
it's not even physical or verbal. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
it's sort of physical because it's your eyes, but it's like you're not touching the person. It's not even verbal.
Right.
And it's still so fucking can be so threatening. It makes you feel so fucking uncomfortable. And that happens thousands of times a day if you leave the fucking house. Dude, literally almost every time I leave the house, I get catcalled out of a car. Okay. So this band just makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know.
Well, me too. But okay, can I ask you this then?
Yes.
That like clearly I can tell that this is like an emotional, even just discussing this like one minor thing.
The smallest
Does this
thing.
band offer some sort of like catharsis or
Yes.
like release valve for that
Yes.
emotion? Like that you can get in the car and scream, you know, suck my left
Yes.
one while you're on the way home or whatever.
I was literally screaming that last night as misogyny was happening all around.
That's what I mean. This like it's a bummer to me that this isn't just all right. Here's your kit. You know, you got to listen to Bikini Kill.
You were born with
like,
a badge. Here you go. Good luck.
Yes, exactly. Like get ready. This might help. This might offer you some sort of solace or at least camaraderie. You know, I don't think it's really necessary. I don't think it's nuanced enough to like have the solution to everything. But I do think that it's like we're here and we're pissed and it's your fault and you should know about it and deal with it. You know what I mean? Like you have to confront. That's kind of what I mean about like I think dudes should listen to it too, because it's like it makes you confront the way that you talk to people or look at people or interact with, you know, like it really it should. I don't think it probably would with everybody. I think most people will get defensive, but it should cause you to think like, oh man, that does suck. Do I do anything to add to that? Or is there anything that I can do to
The answer is yes. Literally every single person.
I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm still in the question asking phase. I haven't answered any of those questions.
Every person contributes.
No, yeah, I agree. But you can't do anything about it unless you're aware of it. Even as being part of the problem, you can't fix the problem if you're not aware that you are.
And this is a really, really blunt way of telling you that you're a fucking problem.
There's
this band.
There's no misunderstanding it. But I think a lot of what the pushback would be is that like, oh, not me.
If you act like that, you definitely do.
That's exactly it, right? Is there more evidence than you need than that? But it's like it's not about that. Stop arguing and listen. Like stop saying no, not me, and start saying, oh, like what can I do to make it better or to like help?
Shout it from the rooftop. Tell all the men's.
I don't know. That really is my takeaway. I loved doing this. This is my favorite one that we've done.
Nice.
I think more so even than the Clash because it was new to me. I went down the rabbit hole. I did all of Bikini Kill. Then I went to her next band, La Tigre, which is like, I remember when they were out and it's a little more like dance rock stuff. Is a little more like, we figured out synthesizers and drum machines. And I just it doesn't click with me as much. I liked some of it. It's a little too much.
It's interesting that that's what I was really into when I was a teen, because really the music that's more my like root is punk. But I just didn't know Bikini Kill at the time. I just found out about La Tigre first. So
and they were releasing albums when you were listening to them. You know, you probably listened to them when it was current, when their stuff was.
I like saw the CD at the store, and the chick with the mustache, so hot,
right?
So hot. Huge crush on that one.
It never clicked with me. I'm sure that I listened to them in passing growing up. I'm sure they were on comps and stuff that I listened to. I've never been a big dance rock fan. And that
TKO song was like all over for a while.
But then Kathleen Hanna didn't do music for a while because she got Lyme disease or misdiagnosed, I guess, for like 5 or 6 years. And I guess when it is in your body that long, it like attacks all of your body systems, so she couldn't sing and she couldn't perform on stage, and like they didn't know what was wrong.
Lyme disease will fuck you up.
Did you watch the Punk Singer, the documentary?
Yes.
Great movie or great documentary. Like highly recommend watching it too.
It was better than all the Clash documentaries I watched.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like actually put together and produced.
Well, and it was made by women.
Tells a story.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's really good. But it kind of gets into the Lyme disease and her not doing music, and then at the end she's starting a new band called the Julie Ruin, which I also
I
love. Like
love the Julie
those
Ruin.
two Julie Ruin albums, I thought were
Yes,
fantastic.
I
Like
agree.
I may like those. Like
It might be my
divorced of all
favorite.
like meaning or anything.
Yeah,
Those two albums might be my favorite albums of hers.
me too. Well, and it makes sense because it's like the newest shit. And so it's, just she's had more years to refine.
But that's not always how music goes. Like a lot of times it's like the new stuff is not great. So
Well,
it's really
I
impressive that
feel
it's
like that's the
been,
case when the band is actually like trying too hard or something, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
I feel like Kathleen Hanna stays true to who she is and is just progressing as a
Yeah.
person. So her music is progressing naturally.
But I think that it's all worth listening to. Even La Tigre, that I'm not a huge fan of, I still think is worth listening. After I got done listening to all the albums from all of those bands, there's like a best of Kathleen Hanna playlist or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I listened to all that. And it's all the same songs, just kind of
Same.
shuffled together, whatever. But like, I just drove around and listened to that, not for this, just because I wanted to listen to those songs. Like, and these songs I think will become part of my rotation. Like, I want to get these albums. I
Yes.
want to listen to this. I like all of these bands. They are part of my like mental collection now. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Nice.
And also, it just is music that has made me think for the first time. Not it's for the first time in a long time, this music has made me think outside of listening to the songs.
Yes.
Made me think a lot about society and people, and
that's
how
the
like,
kind of art I like.
dude, it's so good.
That's the kind of art I'm trying to make, is shit that's changing the world, changing your thoughts, shaking up the status quo.
Well, I think Kathleen Hanna is definitely someone to model yourself
Totally.
after for anyone, not just you, but for like any person. Just driven, and you have a voice, and you're going to say what you're going to say, and everybody else can get out of your way or get run over. Those are your options.
Yeah, I would be really interested to like hear if she ever did any type of other slower, something.
The last track on the newest, I mean, it was 2016, but the newest Julie Ruin album is just a piano ballad. It's a piano playing and just her singing, like regular ass singing over the top of a little piano tune, and it's incredible. It's all good. Like, it doesn't matter what the style is.
So did you listen to Julie Ruin?
I listened to a couple of tracks, but I couldn't
either.
I didn't know. There were the two that were in the documentary, but I couldn't find any of the other ones. So I don't know if they were like self-released, or you know what I mean, or just like recorded and then never did anything with them. I wasn't as crazy about that because it really was like solo, like drum machine and synths and stuff. And like I said, that just doesn't appeal to me as much. I think it was like Bikini Kill, Julie Ruin, then La Tigre. So I think the like early Julie Ruin stuff turned into La Tigre, that was like that more dancey drum machine stuff. And then the Julie Ruin was like the band, where she like actually got a band together. Are you transitioning here?
Just all of her music is playing through my head this whole time.
Well, do you have any final thoughts? How do you feel about recommending this band, or,
most
order to listen to this band in? Or do you have a recommended order? What do you think would be a good way to like introduce somebody to this band?
I mean, I think it'd be kick-ass to listen to the first two, that album that has the first two together.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the way to go for me. That and the singles probably. Also the last one with the heart.
So is your thought with the demo version, it's like you're either in or you're out, and you're going to know about 10 seconds in?
Pretty much. If I was going to recommend this to you, it would be you're wanting some punk rock or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, I do know what you mean, but I think that you should listen to it anyways, even if you don't like punk rock. Like, I think people should be forced to listen to this.
I was saying about They Might Be Giants that could be used in a torture type setting, forcing that band on people.
Some of the Bikini Kill songs could be too, if you're being honest.
Yeah, especially if you're like a old Republican man or something. I think that Trump should have to be locked in a small room and listen to Bikini Kill really loud until he's brainwashed into being a fucking normal person.
I don't want to hear the words Trump and bikini in the same sentence.
Unacceptable.
Because it killed me.
You really fucked up my brain there. My brain just immediately saw that image, and that was not cool.
You're welcome. Well, and that sums up our conversation on Bikini Kill. I kind of feel like this episode and conversation really breezed by, which, I mean, we touch on a lot of heavy topics, but kind of like I kind of felt the same way about their albums, that they're kind of over before you know it, right, as you're getting into the groove. So I feel like this conversation mirrored that a little bit.
Bikini Kill, required listening for all teens and adults, especially in this day and age.
Yep, they're still have a message worth listening to, and hopefully at some point people will. So that kind of leaves us with our Wheel of Death artist, and I feel like they've kind of been the reflection or the opposite of the bands that we talked about. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about there are a lot of options that you could choose that are like the opposite of the Bikini Kill vibe. None of which would I say I'm super psyched to listen to, but I'm kind of curious about your Wheel of Death choice.
Okay, so my Will of Death choice is pretty obvious because we made fun of them in the episode, but I'm gonna go with All American Rejects.
Oh, okay. Honestly, like on the scale of all the
Pretty mild.
chauvinist bands that you could have
Pretty
chosen,
mild.
like, thank you for not possibly forcing me to listen to some real
Like
garbage
Kid Rock
music.
or something.
Yeah, that's kind of the vein I thought we were going to end
Yeah,
up in.
no. I had to do All American Rejects. It was just too it just fit too well and that will be not overly painful to listen to, so it's not too deathy, but it's definitely not one that I would choose for a normal episode.
And honestly, probably like pretty close to the opposite as far as like message and intent and meaning behind the band. Maybe not opposite. I don't know that they're like actively working against
Yeah, I
women.
don't think that they have that much going on up here to be able to be putting that in the lyrical content. You know what I mean? I feel like their lyrical content is super surface level, like cheesy love, poppy bullshit.
That's maybe more it. It's like opposite as far as like depth goes. Like they're
Yes,
not
definitely.
deep lyrics or meaning or
Correct.
intention, more like fluff and very concerned with being listenable.
I do have a funny story relating to All American Rejects, and I'll tell it to you now. And if we can use it or
No,
not, it
save
doesn't
it
matter
for
either way.
the Wheel of Death episode. If
Do you,
this is who we land on, we're gonna need all the anecdotes we can get.
I'm sure we'll find plenty to talk shit about.
We always do.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, our next artist is kind of a shot in the dark for me. It's an artist whose name has, I don't know, I've come across the name a bunch of times, and they kind of fit into what I think is a specific category. But if I'm honest with myself, I'm not sure that I've ever listened to them and that I actually know what they sound like, or if I'm just kind of lumping them in with some other artist. So I'm really kind of flying blind on this one just out of curiosity. You ready for our next challenge?
Hit me.
All right, we're gonna spend some time with Cat Power.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like a singer-songwriter-y, maybe kind of. I don't know. I don't want to guess too much and then be totally wrong. So, yeah, we'll be digging through Cat Power's
I
discography
mean,
and.
I like her songs that I know.
Oh, okay. So you've already got a little bit of experience.
I've heard a handful of her songs, and I like what I've heard.
Please visit us on all social media at Retrospectrum Pod. Send us some emails at retrospectrumpod@gmail.com.
And join us on Patreon, where you can check out our private Discord and join the discussion.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Retrospectrum.